transforming addictive relationships into, if they can't be non-addictive, then to dependent relationships, which are medicalized, is an answer. Now, I realize I've given you a very extensive seminar in thinking about drugs. And I know I've spun you around with a lot of ideas. So I want to finish with this. I believe that there is an ethical way of dealing with drugs and drug addiction and drug users and drug markets in our society. I believe we have not pursued that way. I believe that we have abandoned fundamental American values of individual freedom and compassion and common sense because of our fears and because of our prejudices. I believe we have spent hundreds of billions of dollars, if not $1 trillion, over the last 40 years waging a war on drugs that has done very little good and a dramatically great amount of harm. I believe that the solutions ultimately must be political and legal, but that they have to begin with the transformation in ourselves, in our own lives, and in our own thinking. I believe we have to stop with the notion that people who put things into their bodies should be condemned morally because they pick one substance as opposed to another. I believe that people have to be held responsible for their actions towards one another, whether they're under the influence of drugs or not. I believe that nobody but nobody should be punished simply for what we put in our bodies if we don't hurt anybody else. Nobody but nobody should be punished for what we put into our bodies if we don't hurt anybody else. I believe that those people who use drugs and hurt nobody else should be left alone. I believe that those people who use drugs and have an addiction deserve help and more help and more help. I believe that those people who hurt other people should be punished and held accountable. And I do not believe that somebody's addiction can be an excuse for hurting other people. People still need to be held accountable. You can make a judgment that treatment makes more sense than punishment, but people still need to be held responsible and accountable. This is not about a free-for-all. This is about acknowledging the reality that drugs are here to stay. It's about acknowledging the reality that we are all human beings in this together, black, white, and brown, and every other color, young and old, people with addiction running in our families and people not, people in law enforcement, people and not, that we are all in this together, not just in this country and around the world, that we have pursued a policy of insanity and destruction for generations, and that it is beginning to turn, and we need to accelerate that turn so that ultimately our drug policies can be grounded in science, compassion, health, and human rights. Thank you very much.